I am a recovery worker for a charity called Spinney Support Services. We deal with drug and alcohol addiction in the Muslim community. You will have to bear with me. I do apologise. I do have a bit of a cough today. And I hope that you enjoy this show. This is the third show in a series of discussions that we are having around addiction in the Muslim community. So the first show was we spoke to a counsellor who works with addicts. The second show, we had the pleasure of speaking to one of our male service users, and this is our third show. And Alhamdulillah, we're very, very, very fortunate today to have one of our female service users, and I'm so glad that she's here. She's really bravely agreed to talk about her experiences with us, so Jazakallah Hayden. Today's show, we're talking about addiction, and specifically addiction amongst young Muslim females and their journeys. I do understand that this can be a taboo subject, a lot of stigma attached to it as well, lots of sensitive topics that may be discussed. But I also do feel that the only way that we can address this is to actually to talk about it and to raise awareness of the issue, because it is affecting a lot of our youth. So for confidentiality purposes, I won't mention the real name of the sister who's here, and we'll just call her Fatima, inshallah. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum, sister. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm okay. Just a bit nervous.
Alhamdulillah. Don't worry, inshallah. Inshallah, everything's fine. Yeah. How are you doing?
Just, speaking about something like this is quite difficult to do. But when lovely Haleemah suggested it, I just thought to myself, I wish I had someone else speak about this topic, because maybe then I would feel less alone.
No, we really appreciate you. Really appreciate you coming on the show. How old are you?
I'm 21.
So you're very young.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're very, very young. You're 21 years old, mashallah. Like I said, do you know what? I really do appreciate you coming on. And if there's anything that I'm going to ask you, any questions that you don't feel comfortable answering, you don't have to.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's okay, that's fine. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is ask you a series of different questions. Feel free to expand on them. Feel free to talk about whatever it is that you want to say. Yeah, is that all right?
Yeah, that's all right.
All right, okay, good. So first of all, what type of household did you grow up in terms of what did you grow up seeing?
I was quite close to my family. I have 3 siblings. I'm the youngest.
Oh, so you've got older siblings?
Yes, I do love them a lot. So I grew up with my siblings up until recently, but in the past, we were always quite close. I shared a room with my siblings for quite a long time. Me and my sisters, we shared a room, and that was probably the best part of my childhood. I always remember those times. And but as I grew up, of course, things happen, and my parents got a divorce. So the dynamics in the house changed.
Yeah. So from when you were young, what type of relationship did your parents have? What did you see? Would you describe it as healthy? Or
I would say that they both came from different backgrounds in a way that they both had their own traumas, and I think it was difficult for them to do as much as they would like to for us, because they were still struggling themselves. Yeah,
which is the case
but
for a lot of people.
A lot for us. Like, alhamdulillah, my family moved us from London to Leicester so we could get a better education and be closer to the mosque.
So originally you were from London then?
I only spent a year there. I don't remember it.
Oh, okay.
But my family does, definitely.
Okay. So when you were growing up then, would you say you were exposed to any drugs or anything at that age, or do you think you were kind of kept sheltered from those things and you had like a kind of normal, primary school? Talk us through primary school. How was that?
In regards to them talking about these things, of course we'd see it like in the street or the movies, but my parents would never shy away from the question. If I asked them, "Oh, Mum, what's that?" she would just tell me, "Oh, this is a cigarette. It's not something you should be doing," like something like that. But for primary school, I think I went to Whitehall Primary School.
Okay.
I liked it a lot. They did do a lot of like safety sessions, like where they'll teach us about drugs and stuff. But that was a lot more in secondary school, not so much primary school.
So would you say primary school was just pretty much normal, standard, innocent kind of play? And
yeah, I don't remember speaking about those kind of things at all, really, except for I think they take you to the warning zone, and then they make you wear these like goggles where they show you what it'd look like to be drunk. That's the only thing I can remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And how did you find that experience?
I was the one that was picked to do the visual.
To try them on.
I had to try it on, and I couldn't see anything. I kept falling over.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard of those goggles. I need to get a hold of a pair of those myself, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically what you've described so far is moved from London to Leicester when you were very, very young. Kind of normal kind of upbringing in terms of primary school age.
Yeah.
Just, playing innocent. In terms of moving on to your secondary school, what happened there?
I'm not going to lie, the jump from year 6 to 7 was quite difficult because in year 6 I lost my uncle from my dad's side. And it was quite a hard thing to go through at that age, because it was one of those things that...
Because you're, what age are you, 11?
Probably, yeah, I think so. Yeah. And it was, do you know those cousins' houses that you'd sleep at every Friday night and you're just really close to the family like that? He was that house for us. And when he passed away, I just kept remembering things that he would say to me, like, "Oh, when you get older, we'll do this, we'll do that." And I realised I'll never get that.
Okay.
It was just a bit difficult to get through.
That's difficult. That's very difficult to deal with. So how did you deal with that then at that age? Can you remember, like, the emotions that you felt? And
mostly just went through it with my siblings, that I'll talk to them about it, or the cousins that were going through it as well.
Yeah.
And just listening to them here, like, talk about the memories with him, that helped us get through it. Yeah.
So you had that family support network, which is very important, isn't it? Yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely. So at what point, going through secondary school, you've got year 7, year 8, year 9, 10, 11.
Yeah.
Talk me through those years in terms of, did anything change, or how were you first introduced to substance misuse, and what was it that you took? How did you come about it?
In secondary school, I was quite one of those girls that I'm never going to do anything. It's so bad, this, that. But then I would hear people like talk about it, and I'd just think, oh, like, if this is how they feel on it, I wonder how it would make me feel.
Was it common in the secondary school? Did you see it, or was it just something you heard about?
Mostly older people. I didn't see it too much. Like, the most I saw was like vape pens, like the old ones. But I would hear about it. Like, people would talk about doing it after school, or who's
when you say talk about it, what do you mean? Do you mean drinking alcohol? Do you mean smoking weed? What do you mean? Both.
Both, yeah.
Okay, so you didn't actually see it as much, but you'd heard
Yeah, yeah. And there were a couple of girls in school who would sometimes, like, you could tell that they were drunk, and then they would tell us, like, oh yeah, look, we got vodka in our bottles. Like, that's,
Really?
I used to see stuff like that. So that's how I knew what alcohol was. I didn't really know it was, like, for our age. I really didn't think it was.
So they actually brought it into school.
Yeah.
And would walk around, and the teachers wouldn't have a...
They wouldn't notice, no.
They wouldn't know that they were under the influence, or...
No, well, I don't remember anyone getting caught. Well, not in my year. No.
Okay. Right, okay. So did secondary school kind of go pretty smoothly then for you?
In year 9, I moved to... I decided to move to Beecham. So I moved from the school that I was in to a sixth form college, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that was a big jump, because only by the end of year 9 is when I finally felt settled at that school. But I had already decided to move, so I just thought...
If you don't mind me
I'll take
asking,
it.
what made you want to move?
I just felt really out of place in the school that I was in. Like, I just didn't feel like I belonged there. Like, I didn't feel like I was focused in any of my classes, and I didn't really have that many friends either. So I just thought, I'm not learning, not got anything holding me here. And then I heard about it through someone in the family about the other school.
Okay.
And when I heard about it, I just thought, you know what, like, this seems like it'll be better for me. So I just thought I'd give it a go.
Okay. Did you have any bad experiences in the other school in terms of like bullying or anything like that?
Not too often. The only thing I'd get bullied about is my eyebrows, because they're quite bushy.
Okay. But it contributes when you look back.
Yeah.
You know, all these little things, they do kind of fester and in your heart and your mind sometimes. So
Yeah.
So you decided then, right, that's it, I want to move.
Yeah.
So you applied to Beecham.
Yeah.
Okay. And you got a place?
Yeah. Alhamdulillah, yeah, I did get a place.
Alhamdulillah, yeah. That's what you wanted.
Yeah, definitely.
Were your family supportive of you making that decision?
My mum was very happy when I decided, like, to go to something like that. I think she probably thought she probably thought of it like, I don't know, should I do it, should I not? But because of how much I wanted to go, and the other person who suggested it to me spoke to her as well. So I think that's probably what pushed it to actually happen.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. So what happened at Beecham?
Beecham I liked it. It was different. It's a mixed school compared to the girls' school that I was at. And I think that was a big jump for me, because I wasn't used to that. And in that school, they don't wear uniform. So
they don't.
It's quite different, yeah. And you see a lot of people from college as well. So it's, 10, 11, and then the first 2 years of college. So we're with the older people as well.
Yeah.
So that was quite different, because obviously when you're in college, a lot of people do more substances and things like that. So I heard about it more in Beecham than I did in the other place. Still didn't see it though.
Okay, so at this point, primary school you've gone through, you're okay. Secondary school you've gone through, you're all right. You've now moved to Beecham.
Yeah.
And are you starting to think about using anything, or is it still not crossing your mind at all?
A lot of times my friend group or whoever I was sat with at the time, like, they would speak about it, and they'd be like, oh, Aliyah, Fatima, are you going to do it? And I just thought, no, I just don't think I want to do it. But I'll just be like, oh, should I just try it? But then a part of me was scared of what if I get addicted to something like that. So I just thought, no, let's not do that.
But you were being exposed to it more from your friend circle.
Yeah. But it wasn't one of those friends that I sat with every day. So that's the only reason I just thought, never gonna, like, do it again if I just do it this one time. Okay,
so from that, you decided from the discussions and what you were hearing that you want to try. What is it that you tried?
I didn't try it. They wanted to try LSD, and I was in year 10.
Right.
So, and they said they were going to do it on a school day. And I just thought, there's no way that I would be able to do something like that.
Okay, just describe for the listeners LSD.
It's a bit difficult to explain. You might have to search that one up. Don't want to say it on there.
Okay, no problem. That's all right. That's fine. Okay.
But it's actually what happened from year 10 to 11 was when I started to get really depressed. And that's when I wanted to do it more than ever.
Okay, so year 10 to 11, you started to experience depression.
Yeah.
Looking back now, why do you think that was?
I think I always felt that way since probably the beginning of year 7, but I didn't think it was normal, so I never really spoke about it. But yeah, 10 and 11 is when I heard about mental health properly, and I understood that it's not just being sad, it's a lot more than that. And I think, hearing of what other people did to help them with their mental health, drugs was one of them. And I just thought, if this is something where I don't have to speak to anyone because no one understands me, I might as well try it.
So
that's what pushed it.
Okay, so the depression kicked in year 10, year 11. But you're saying that since kind of a young age, you actually did feel quite down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any reason for that? When you look back now, obviously at the time you don't know, but when you look back, was there anything you think that maybe you were dealing with at a young age that may have been a bit too much for you?
Probably just seeing my parents, some of the stuff that we dealt with at home was quite difficult, and I wouldn't be able to not think about it at school.
Okay.
So that was quite difficult to handle.
You were having issues at home within the family.
Yeah.
Family dynamics, mom, dad, maybe arguments. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Being exposed to that regularly.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, you've actually said it's your friends who kind of opened this idea up to you.
Yeah.
What was the actual? I know this is. What if you can describe the actual point, the first time you tried something?
The first time I actually tried something was weed. I smoked weed.
Okay. And describe that for me, because the first time you try something like that, it's a bit of it's quite scary.
It is scary.
So if you just set the scene for us.
It was just after year 11, and after, during some
year
holidays.
11, sorry, remind me again, year 11
I think you're about 14, 15.
Okay.
Might be wrong.
Yeah.
But I was with a cousin that does it quite a lot. At the time, he did. And I asked him, I really want to try it. And he did ask me a couple of times, are you sure? Are you sure? I just thought, if I'm ever going to try it, I'd rather be with someone I feel safe with. So I did try it. And at first, I was just thinking, oh, when is this going to work? What is happening? And then finally, when it kicked in, I just realised, I feel better. I can't hear my thoughts that much. It wasn't loud in my head. And I wasn't constantly thinking about, oh, what if I look like this? What if I look like this? Okay. What if someone's staring at me?
Okay, so you were together. Were you were you home? Were you out?
We were out, yeah.
Okay. And then you smoked together?
Yeah.
Okay.
Shouldn't really be discussing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's okay. That's fine. And then after that, how did you feel?
I had the confidence to go into the shop and order stuff.
Was that literally straight away?
Yeah. And by the way, before that, I would have to ask other people, can you order my food for me? Can you talk to the front desk for me? Stuff like that.
So before, excuse me, would you say before that maybe you were quite shy or didn't have that much confidence?
Yeah. I was quite afraid to, I had social anxiety then as well.
Okay.
So I think when I did smoke, it's it brought out a confident side to me, a side that I couldn't do sober, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's interesting. It's really, thank you, Jazakallah for sharing that, because maybe a lot of listeners aren't aware, so it's really important, that you share these things with us, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that thinking about this, or it resonates with them. So
Yeah.
we do appreciate that. Okay, so you smoked that once. What happened after that?
After that was college. And college is the most easiest way to get stuff like that, I think.
In terms of, describe that a bit more.
Like, say if I tried to get it in the holidays, it would be very difficult for me to ask someone, like, oh, can you find me someone who can get it for me? Whereas in college, you'll ask the person sitting next to you, and they'll probably have someone.
So was it you smoked it once and then you decided, right, I just want to carry on doing this?
I waited a while because I was still with my family. I was waiting to go to college, not for that specific thing. But when I heard about it again, like someone said, oh, I'm just going to go smoke in the park. And I thought they just meant cigarettes. But when I realised like a lot of people were going to the park to just smoke, I just thought, okay, like maybe if I wanted to do it again, it's accessible for me.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then what happened then? Did it become, because it was more easily accessible to you, did you start to smoke more?
Yes and no. It was difficult because I was too scared to ask the people. So I would always have to wait for a friend to offer it to me if they were smoking in the park and I was with them. Or later on, because my mental health got worse, in order to cope, I ended up smoking alone. Okay. So I did end up having to get it myself.
Okay. So we've already established that you did have, anxiety, social anxiety, a touch of like depression. Were those things diagnosed at that stage, or was it just something that you, when you look back now, you realise that you had?
It was diagnosed.
It was, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of you getting into a habit, would you say you then now got into a habit of smoking? Was it just weed?
Yeah.
Was it just marijuana?
Just weed, yeah.
Okay.
And it was probably in college twice a week. And then gradually it became a little bit more.
Okay. And these couple of years that you're describing, was anyone aware of anything at home, do you think?
My mum did find out. Yeah, she found out.
If you don't mind me asking, how did she find out?
I'll try and make this quick. But I don't know. Okay. The friend that I was smoking with at the time, she got caught. Okay. Then the girl's parents, well, her mum and someone else from her family, showed up at my door. Right. And they basically told my mum.
Okay. And how did that end up? Not good.
It wasn't like, it was bad, but now that I look back at it, I think my mum did everything she could to keep her cool, like as much as she could. Obviously, I did get shouted at, but I think she was so afraid that I probably would do something more that she chose to just sit me down and have a talk for that specific subject. Okay. Yeah.
So your mum actually did sit you down, had a word with you. How did that make you feel?
It hurt, like, to see her like that. And I looked at her and I just thought, I can't be doing this. Like, I made my mum cry, and our rooms weren't that far apart, and I had her, like, cry a lot, and it would pain me to know that I've caused my mum that much pain over something that I don't need. Like, I just thought, what do I do now? Because I want to be a better daughter, and I don't want my mum to feel this way. So that's when I actually did stop for quite a while. Okay. That
was, to be honest with you, you're not alone when you feel like that. A lot of people do feel that pain when they see their loved ones and what they're doing to their loved ones. It does hurt them.
Definitely.
And that can be a factor in people wanting to get help, depending on what stage they're at. But that can be, a very important factor in somebody wanting to get help and eventually, inshallah, stop.
I think it's also good that she had that talk with me, like, whereas either some parents would have just been like, you need to get out now, you did something really bad. But
so that's quite important actually. So how do you feel from your perspective? what advice maybe then would you give to a parent who may be going through something similar, where they've just found out, or they're inclined towards believing that, you know, their son or daughter may be doing something like this?
This is just my opinion, so
of course,
yeah.
No, that's
I would say sit the child down and ask them, like, is there something bothering you that's leading you to do this? And don't freak out with the answer, because it could be anything. But if they feel safe enough to tell you, then you should realize, okay, look, they're feeling comfortable right now, so let me just listen and take on as much as I can to help them. And then, for example, we've got Spinney Hill Centre right here, and I think with this show and with what I'm saying right now, I think if parents heard that there's centres like this, then instead of worrying about what they're going to have to do alone, they could come to the centres for some advice or something.
Jazakallah khairan for that. But yeah, no, you're right, you're absolutely right. And I think open discussion, communication is really important.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what would you describe as the lowest point in your life? And at that point, what were you feeling? What were you using? If that's all right.
That's okay. I have quite a few, but we'll pick one. So one of the lowest points was at the time I had just recently moved out of home. Like, I left home and I was living in supported housing. And I was
do you mind describing the circumstances around why you left home?
I was struggling a lot with my mental health in a way that I thought I couldn't juggle everything that was going on. The stress of things at home, like I was going to college, working 2 jobs, and I was coming home and I was too drained to do anything else. But obviously in a lot of households they have like, not chores, but it's like the family picks things to do, like, oh, you do the dishes, we'll do this, like that. And because I was working so much, sometimes I would be too tired to do these things, and it just used to just pile up and cause so much havoc in the house. And I just thought, you know what?
Because you hadn't done your chores.
And that wasn't the only thing. And I also realised that I was hurting the people around me, and I didn't like who I was becoming. And at that point, I was...
So at that point, were you smoking?
Yeah.
Quite heavily?
Yeah, because it was around the time of COVID.
Right,
and at that time, like, any chance I got to smoke, I was up for it.
Okay.
And it was just difficult because I can't remember what I was saying.
That's fine. No, it's okay. It's okay. We were talking about the circumstances around what led you to move out. So I think you've described that quite well. Things were going on at home, obviously for a number of years since when you were small. On top of that, you had studies. On top of that, you were
as well. That was my other thing.
Okay, so your studies were being affected.
Yeah. And so at that point, the reason I left home was because I was either going to stay in that place and I wasn't going to exist anymore. I was ready to take my life. I was like, no, I can't do this. I can't live like this. I'm too stressed out. I'm not sleeping. I'm not doing the things that I want to do. I'm hurting people. I need to leave. So then that's when I moved out. But the lowest point was how lonely I felt after. Like, as in... I had people to speak to. There were people in my house. It was a mixed house. And I just didn't feel like anyone understood me. And I felt pretty alone.
And I'm really sad to hear that. But you're in a much better place now.
Alhamdulillah.
At that time, did you have contact with your family when you left, or was it
Here
no
and there,
contact?
yeah.
How did your family take that move?
Pretty hard. My mum... she still wants me to come back home. So I always have to remind her that I will get there, I will get better. So it is going to be a good thing that I've done, inshallah. My sisters, I was quite close to them because we lived together a lot longer than my older brother. So when I left, like, it was pretty hard for my older sister as well, because I used to annoy her a lot. And always chill in her room and always ask her for advice. So that was quite a big jump.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you made that step. You decided to move out. You were feeling very, very, very low. lonely. What happened next?
That's when I got introduced to more things. Like, that's when...
when you say more things, excuse me, what do you mean?
Like, for example, other types of drugs, like pills, I've tried once.
Right.
Mushrooms, I've tried. Molly as well. And also drinking, like a lot of drinking, because in that place, you weren't allowed to do that much. And you were watched.
So are we talking about sheltered accommodation now that you're in? Okay.
So just to get through the day quicker, like, I know not just myself, a lot of us, we used to just do anything we could just to make it to the day quicker. So it
was the combination of moving out, being alone, suffering with your mental health.
Yeah.
Already taking cannabis, then being introduced to so many other substances.
Yeah.
All the freedom.
Yeah.
Just a combination of all those things kind of got the better of you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you started drinking as well?
Yeah.
Okay, regularly?
Yeah.
Okay. And how did you manage while doing all of these things? Can you remember how long that period at its worst kind of went on for?
Over a year.
Over a whole year?
Yeah. Like, that's a version of myself that I never wish I get back. Do not want that back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's that whole year you were literally just, under the influence of something or another. Did you have contact with your family in that time?
I did.
And how did that make you feel?
It was hard to go there because...
But they still welcomed you back.
My mum said the door's always open for me. So, yeah. So she always said that I'm able to come home whenever I want to, alhamdulillah. And even say, for example, there were days where I would not sleep for 3 days, and if I was drinking or doing something before that, then it'd last longer. Okay. And there were some times where I'd be hallucinating, and I'd run home to my mum because I knew she was the only person who wouldn't judge me like that.
Absolutely. And your family's your family, aren't they, at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah. So you're in a better place now. Alhamdulillah. Do you want to describe what your situation is now? How did you, from that year being so bad, just briefly describe how you've got yourself to where you are now? What made you reach out and want to get help? If you had reached out anywhere else, if you can just describe that to us.
From then, I moved into a different place, and that's when it probably got a little bit worse, just without as much substances. So more of it was just me not being able to get out of bed. So for a whole year, I just couldn't get out of bed. And then coming up to this year that just started, I just realised I can't do this anymore. Like, I want to be a person. Like, I want to do things. I don't want to just be here. I want to, like, live properly.
So was it the fact that every single day was the same?
Yeah. I felt like I was living life on a loop. Really? Just keep repeating the same thing. And
so you weren't working or nothing. You were still drinking, still smoking.
I was volunteering at the time, but even that, some days I just wouldn't be able to get to.
I was going to ask you, was that affected as well?
Yeah.
Because of your substance use?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But from there, I reached out to Jamila's Legacy, and
MashaAllah, fantastic organisation.
They are amazing. Rehana Auntie is just so lovely and very welcoming and understanding, and she doesn't make you feel alone when you're with her. And I first went to just a session. So
that was for your mental health, right? Because Jamila's Legacy, yes, they're a very good organisation. They help you with your mental health issues, whatever they may be.
And they have drop-in sessions, which is pretty good to me.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And from there, I found some leaflets of Spinney Hill, And I also remember my mum mentioning it as well, because they also have some talks where they speak to parents and stuff, I think.
Okay.
Not sure, but my mum went to a talk and she mentioned it from there. And then when I saw the leaflet, I thought, okay, I've heard it twice now. Let me look at it. And I held on to it for a while. I was like, okay, let me see, let me try it. But I ended up trying other services, and I didn't really get a great response from them.
Right.
I felt quite judged. And
Felt quite judged.
yeah.
Because of
the way that they would react when I would speak, like saying that I'm a Muslim and I've drunk and I smoke or all these different things, they would just be like, what? Like, they looked at me differently after I said that.
That's a real shame.
Yeah.
That's a real shame because, like we mentioned earlier on, we know that this is happening in our community, and we need to get people on board. We need to help, not repel.
Definitely. Like,
so you went to these places, you didn't get on with them.
Yeah. Like, instead, it made me want to go home and carry on. So, recently, a friend of mine, she's very lovely, and she always tells me, oh, let's do this. I'll help you get out the house. Maybe this will stop you from smoking. And then she suggested coming to see Haleemah at Spinney Hill.
Okay.
And that's when I thought...
How did you feel about that initially?
I was scared. I was like, no, it's going to be someone that's Muslim listening to me talk about all these things. What if they'd like think, why is she doing this? Or what if they talk to me differently?
So again, you were afraid of being judged like you were last time.
Yeah.
You thought you might have to go through the same thing again.
Literally.
And how have you actually felt now that you are engaging with our services? How do you feel?
For me to come on this radio shows how comfortable I feel with Haleemah.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
No, and I'm glad that you have come forward. I'm glad that you're seeking help.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just lastly, to conclude, you personally, this is just your personal opinion, how big a problem do you think substance misuse is amongst young Muslim females?
A very big problem.
Really?
And just because we don't hear about it often doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Or it shouldn't be something like, oh, wow, oh, look at that girl, whatever. Should be, that person needs help, not like judging them for it. And I think that's why a lot of young girls and just women in general who smoke and or do these things, they're afraid to speak up because you don't hear about it.
Yeah. So do you feel like there needs to be more open discussion about this? People need to be more comfortable talking about this issue?
Definitely, yeah. Because I think if you hear about other people speaking about it, you might think, okay, this is where they are and I'm sort of in the same position. Let's see what they're doing and maybe I could give it a try as well.
Okay.
Yeah, instead of just concealing it and then letting it get worse.
Okay, because that does tend to happen, doesn't it? You conceal it, it gets worse. When you're taking a substance, you become more and more dependent on it.
Yeah.
Shame factor comes in, stigma comes in.
I think it breaks up a lot of families too.
Yeah.
Like, if they get told off or, say, for example, get shipped to a boarding school, then it's just going to bring more conflict to the family.
And it's not going to solve, it's not going to solve the issue either, is it? So definitely I think, I do agree, open discussions, bringing about awareness, having that atmosphere where you can talk about these things and you're comfortable going to get help, because we all know long term these things aren't healthy for us.
Yeah.
Also, lastly, what advice would you give to other young Muslims who maybe they're struggling right now? Listening to your story is resonating with them, and they're thinking, I feel like I'm going through something similar, or I know someone who may be going through something similar.
I would just say that you're definitely not alone. You just have to find the right people, which sometimes can seem really difficult. But honestly, like, for example, Spinney Hill Support, Jamila's Legacy, there's a lot of these things that help us without even getting in contact with your parents if that's not what you're comfortable with. And sometimes you might just be afraid because you think, okay, Leicester's just quite small, what if they find out? But it's all confidential, which makes it a lot easier.
Absolutely.
And just
that's fantastic.
not to give up as well.
And that's important, isn't it? I think that's important that you don't give up, you carry on, you keep striving, and you will get there eventually, like yourself.
Yes,
You know, from where you've come to where you are now, and hopefully we'll be seeing, you know, a lot more of you. And it's been an absolute pleasure. So, Jazakallah Hayden for your input, and I hope that everything was okay.
No, it was good. Thank you.
Is there
Thank you
anything
for
else?
having me.
No. Is there anything else? Any other issues that you feel maybe need to be addressed alongside this? Because a lot of the times we find addiction is not on its own. It's not a separate issue. So you may have underlying other factors along with the addiction. Like for yourself, you describe having mental health issues.
Yeah.
Do you think there could be other issues along with that as well?
Yeah, like I think in this like time, I feel like a lot of people mistake depression and things like that as being lazy when it really isn't. And I think some parents, they probably just look at them and think, oh, look, they're doing nothing. But they don't know what's going on inside their child's head. So I just feel like parents need to just speak a little bit more. Or if they're struggling to speak with their children, then they can seek advice from other people on how to speak to them.
Okay. But what you're basically saying is that communication is absolutely key.
Definitely. And to just be taught about it, like spoken about at home. Like there are some things, like, do you know how, for example, you'll speak to your child about, what can I think of? Like going into secondary school or starting a new club. Like these are things that you tell your child, like, oh, this is how it's going to be. So maybe if they mention like, you can like feel this way, it's not wrong to feel this way. Like it doesn't make you any less of a person, because it's just something you're going through and it's difficult. And you shouldn't feel ashamed for something like that, because everyone goes through it in some way, like just so they don't feel alone in it.
No, that's fantastic. Absolutely. You know, and that help, that support will definitely help you along your journey.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Jazakallah Hayden. So as we've learned, we've gone through Sister's story here. Quite heart-touching. And we appreciate you going through, you know, all those details. People sometimes ask, why does a person do these things? But there are many reasons. But at the end of the day, our message is that, look, we're here. Spinney Hill Support Services, drug and alcohol addiction support. We're here in the local community. We're here to help, non-judgmental. Our services are open for males and females. We're actually based very close by. We have a lovely centre within the centre. You've been there. How would you describe it?
I really liked it.
Yeah. We have a gym, we have a pool table, a salah area, computers, you know, so it's a lovely space for people to be, whatever you're struggling with. You know, if you know somebody who's struggling, if you're struggling yourself, please have that confidence and make the first step and reach out to us. All our staff are fantastic, and you're not alone, like you said. Yeah, you're not alone, and there are barriers. You know, I understand there are barriers to reaching out. But it's just that first initial step.
Yes.
Right?
It's scary, but sometimes you have to force yourself to see how
for yourself and for your family.
Yeah.
And for the long term, for your long term as well.
Yeah.
You know, for your health, your mental well-being, it all works hand in hand.
Definitely.
All right. Jazakallah Hayden, sister. Much appreciated. And I hope and pray that everything works out very well for you and your family, inshallah. So guys, we are Spinney Hill Support Services. Please do reach out to us, spinneyhill.org.uk. You are listening to Ramadan FM. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.